Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Well, hi, welcome everybody. Here's the good news. We've made it through March. We will have at midnight. It's March 31st. And it is a Tuesday, and that means my sister Susan should be on the line. Hi, Suze.
Hi, how are you?
Well, I'm okay. Given circumstances, I guess I'm okay. And you and Mom?
We are fine. I am trying here we go. I'm there. I'm distracted. I've been trying to allow our mother to
listen.
And there she goes. I'm running out of the room. Okay.
All right. Hi, Mom.
Hi. Okay.
Yeah,
there you go. She'll hear you in a second. Okay.
Okay. Well, I have to tell you that oh, this sounds good. I have to tell you that somebody suggested yesterday, I got an email from somebody saying, we'd love to hear your mom. She sounds like such an amazing woman. And if at some point Mom would want to say hi or a few words, that would be great. I don't know if
All right. Well, I'll let her. She's listening, so if she wanders in here or happens to pick up the kitchen phone or go into her bedroom and pick up that phone, then that would be the way to do it, Mother.
If you want to, Mom, because you don't have to, and it's not like you have to. I mean, whatever. You're not on the spot. My mother.
And there's always next week, and the week after that, and the week after that.
That's right. My mother does not have the same performance desires as her children. She doesn't really want the spotlight much, I don't think. Right?
Well, I don't know.
Sorry, Mom. If you won't come on, we're just going to talk about you.
I do feel that she basks in the attention that she has received throughout her life, but she doesn't, like you and I, have to do much to get it. It just comes her way.
True. Yeah, it does. Lucky her.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I don't know where to start. I'm trying so hard not to have this hour that we all spend together be, filled with the horror, that I get on the news. And all through the day, I'm seeing things and I'm sending them off to my mail here. And this morning I looked at what I sent from yesterday up until pretty late last night. And my God, it's all negative. It's stuff like I found. I thought, people have to know about that. I've got to talk about that.
Well, no, not only that, but when sent a beautiful picture of nature at its most incredible, you dismiss it immediately as that's just a carving. It's too perfect.
Oh, that was so funny.
And I was going, no, it's nature
I totally
that's
misunderstood. So our brother sent us a picture, this amazing picture of a dead tree, a very tall tree stump. And
as in like 15 feet tall.
Yeah.
Trunk.
And then that was the end of the tree. And he said, this is amazing. Look closely. And I look closely, and the first thing I see are these two, almost look like a white kitten, staring out at me. And then as I looked further, it looked like an owl above it that blended into the tree. And I thought, what is he saying? Is he saying this is some naturally occurring thing that the tree looks like there's an owl and a white cat on it? That was my reaction. This is how out of it I can be. And I said, that's not natural. Somebody carved that. And Susan and he are like coming back at me. No, you don't. And as it turns out, it was a real owl.
and its little brand new little white owlet, just incredibly beautiful.
Yeah, but and
it's interesting when I saw the owlet first, and it took me a while to make out the mother.
Right, because the mother
saw the mother first and didn't see the owlet.
Well, it just seemed too unbelievable. It's incredible. It really is. But yeah, I was sort of generally out to lunch. I thought you were saying that it was a naturally occurring thing on a tree. You know how
that the tree had naturally carved itself into a mother and an
owlet.
Like
you know how people see Jesus's face on a piece of burnt toast.
Well,
right?
Of course, Lynn. I could understand how anyone would leap to that conclusion.
Well, after a long day of isolation, there's no telling where one's head does go.
Well, let me tell you what Mother and I did last night, which I found satisfying on a bunch of different levels. The Washington Post put out a couple of days ago, I don't know when, because I read it online, so as most of us do, I guess. And it was 10 movies to watch, while you're holed up. And they're from like little theaters that are just allowing you to stream them for the price of a ticket.
So what did you watch?
So we watched this little independent film about. I'll have to pull up the name of it. It's about a sad sack of a cartoonist, a graphic novelist, and his buddies. He happens to be a bowling champion. It's sort of a sad sack romantic comedy bowling movie. I mean, who knew? But but it was thoroughly a lovely thing to watch.
And you enjoyed it.
I have to say, I just completely enjoyed watching something that wasn't just about someone I could relate to. It's called Phoenix, Oregon is the name of the movie.
Okay. Phoenix, Oregon. And so you would find it how?
You go to available at phoenixoregonmovie.com.
Okay.
phoenixoregonmovie.com. And then for $6.50, you can rent it for 2 days. Okay, you have 2 days to watch it. You also have the option of buying more than one ticket. And I afterward, I only paid $6.50. I thought, idiot, you should have paid $13. You and your mom both watched it, but live and learn. They got business out of Green Bay, Wisconsin that they wouldn't ordinarily get.
Okay.
And also, this is a group of movie theaters that if one of your theaters, I think there is a Pittsburgh theater on there, you can share your ticket price with that theater.
Okay.
And then you stream the movie. And if you have an Apple TV like I do, I can watch it on my big TV. Otherwise, you're watching it on your computer or your iPad
your laptop,
right? Right. But there are a bunch of different movies. Some of them are on Netflix. Some of them are available other ways. And they're all sort of just these nice little, you missed it kind of movies.
Good.
That I found very pleasant. So you were doing the owl thing, which is why I am telling you this to explain that I was a little sharp because I was in the middle of the bowling.
Well, I was
and
in the middle.
It reminded me how much fun bowling was.
Yeah. Do you know, did you see this? I shared a sign from a bowling alley near Pittsburgh. This must have been 3 weeks ago. Time has gotten so fungible, you can't tell what.
Back in the old days when life was normal?
Well, no, this was actually when life was starting to become abnormal, and but things hadn't been shut down. And there was a bowling alley. I'm remembering it was in Etna for Pittsburghers, or Millville, and they had just a picture of a hand-lettered sign that somebody had put up. Let me see if I can remember it. It was, please do not touch anyone else's balls.
Oh, right.
Right. And then I think it said something, and after touching your ball,
after touching your balls, wash your hands.
Wash your hands, or something like that.
Yeah.
But that was before. Yeah, that was the only bowling alley,
humor that you came up with.
That I can. Well, I didn't come up with it. It was somebody. It was literal.
Right.
And it was clearly in the bowling alley. It wasn't some setup. It was legitimate. So that was pretty good.
Well, this is just this is the time that you can sit back and watch these funny little movies that you would never otherwise see. I mean, and they're about subjects that you wouldn't necessarily run to, and they are just these. I can't recommend a nice, pleasant little movie enough.
Okay.
No blood, no gore, just normal life's anxieties. And you see people like walking in the street and hugging and touching each other.
I
and
know.
You think, oh.
I know. That's what's so jarring about watching anything, is seeing our old lives, play out. Anything you watch, where people are behaving like we used to be able to do. It's just so like, oh my God, look at that. Yeah. So,
and just the way different people react to this situation. I have noticed that there's a whole group of people that seem not to understand that this is really not business as usual, and you don't necessarily expect the people that work for you to work for you. And, yeah, it's nice to have your housekeeper come in, but you don't assume that your housekeeper's coming in, or that your roof is going to get fixed, or that your, landscapers are going to come.
Listen.
And if you wouldn't go to someone's house and do that job, then you mustn't ask anybody else to do it for you. And
Susan, who are you talking about? Are you saying that you know people who at this point are stupid enough?
Yes.
Well, all right. I mean, it's beyond me.
I'm telling you, I'll tell you why it came up. I was, how I read all of these things online, and one of them is the social cues guy from the New York Times, who has a blog, and someone asked a tipping question about how to tip the crew of 6 in her backyard during this pandemic. And what ensued was a serious conversation about parceling up the money, putting it in plastic bags, throwing it outside. Someone else yelled, "Don't tip. This is not a time to tip. You're asking them to risk their lives." And then the gentleman that runs the blog, Mr. Philip Gallons, I think is how he pronounces his name, or whatever that is, gets so angry. He's usually such a measured, nice man, and he came up and he said, "Okay, I've had it. We got to stop this. Who has 6 people in their backyard and is worried about tipping them?" And he just gave this whole group of, frankly entitled, well-to-do people who have nothing better to do than argue about the fineries of tipping.
Unbelievable. Well, I have to tell you, the stupidity of our fellow Americans is going to kill us all. I saw a great quote apropos. True ignorance is not the absence of knowledge, but the refusal to acquire it. And that's sort of like denial as well. Like, I can't deal with this, so my life, I still need my roof done. I was walking the dog yesterday and bumped into my plumber, who I don't see very often.
I hope you mean that figuratively.
Yes. He had his dog. I had my dog.
Which makes social distancing difficult because the dogs run you into each other.
Yeah, well, his dog barked at my dog, and I definitely kept the dogs at
side of the street,
right. And I asked him if he was still working. He said, "Well, I'm, on an emergency basis." He said, "I have gotten some emergency calls. Obviously, if somebody's, plumbing goes totally kaplooey.
Someone's
they need
gotta
help.
Show up. Yeah.
But I said, well, how do you feel about that? He said, it scares me. But he says, I've been going in and, I really get myself all guarded. But he said, I'm going into someone's house and I don't, know what's going on in that house. So the plumber, you don't think of the plumber as a hero or a first line, responder. But in that regard, he is, and he's not saying no. When I think others might say, I'm sorry, you'll have to find somebody else. I just, I just opened an email from Roger. Good news. I took a shower, brushed my teeth, and put on clean underwear today.
Yeah, I did that yesterday. I thought I was good for 3 days. And I got a FaceTime call from your son while I was in the shower, which I remember thinking at the time, I can call him back and say I was in the shower and have someone sort of witness the fact that I voluntarily cleansed myself.
So you haven't talked to him?
No. So we called him back. Mom and I called him back.
Oh,
and
good.
There he is with a tangle of hair about him, looking like he hadn't been near a source of water in months.
Oh, God.
And I said, and you knew that we were going to call.
And you didn't comb your hair? God Almighty!
His hair. He said he did it next, I think. But anyway,
well,
we have a guest on the line. Do we have a guest?
You do, Susan and Ninu.
Mom.
Yes,
Hi.
Susan got me the
yesterday's show.
Yesterday's show, and I was listening to this terrible thing that happened to you.
Oh no! I wish you hadn't.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I think my asthma's kicking up, Mom, not to worry. And I think it was a combination of a lot of things, but I had a moment there where I couldn't, I felt like really lightheaded, and I couldn't catch my breath. But I'm fine, okay? But so here's what's funny, Mom, here's what's funny. So I told that story, and it's funny, a number of people got in touch with me and were most amazed that I laid down on this, on a
person's grass.
Well, it wasn't grass. They have like a 4 foot tall brick, it's not right calling it a fence, but it is in their front yard that is about 5 inches wide, and on there's concrete on top, so you can sit on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, a barrier, a wall of sorts. Yes, more than a fence, a little wall. And I
was really say I think they call those walls.
Okay, walls. And so I thought I would lie down because I didn't want to fall down in the middle of the street. It felt like lightheaded. So I laid down there. I was probably down for about 10, 15 minutes. And people said to me things like, oh, my God, weren't you embarrassed or wondering what people would think? And you know what? That's the last thing I thought of.
You were trying to breathe.
Yeah, I was just trying to take care of myself. And if I was doing something that people don't generally do, and it did occur to me that I must look strange. I had never seen anyone lying on that wall, even though I passed it many, many times. And so I just assumed that people would think, first of all, the sun was out, and I thought I might look like somebody who just said,
I'm going to bask in the sunshine.
Right. That's what my story was. I was basking in the sun. So,
poor thing.
But it reminds
me a story about why you were passing out.
Well, I walked up a big flight of steps which would normally have anybody sort of, breathing a little heavier. But I think because my asthma was kicking up and who knows what. But I'm fine, Mom. I do not want you worrying. I'm fine. So it reminded me, though, of a story. Can I just tell a story? And, Mom, you will know this person, Larry Miller.
Yes.
Okay. This is the ex-husband of a dear friend of mine. And I remember him once saying, and it rang true to me, that he always felt that if he were eating alone in a restaurant and began to choke, in other words, his air passage was blocked.
Right. In need of a Heimlich. Yes.
In need of a Heimlich. That he would rather sit there and quietly die
and ask for help.
Then get up and make a scene, right? Like, hey, help me. But that is that sense of, and I understood when he said it. I laughed, but I understood, and you're in a situation and you're trying to maintain a semblance of dignity, and for some people it might go so far as to, I don't think he really would have, but
no,
maybe.
I think in this situation your will to live takes over.
Hey, because you talked about tipping, I want to thank Gigi. She said, first of all, it's nice to hear you and Susan this morning, but she passed along to a link for something called the Pittsburgh Virtual Tip Jar. And it is a way of giving a tip to all those people who live on tips who cannot work. So pass the word about that. Pittsburgh Virtual Tip Jar, I guess .com or something. Just Google it, and you can give money to it, and then people who are servers can, I guess, take money from it. I'm hoping,
for money from it, right?
Right. Ellen writes in regard. Mom, did you see the owl stuff?
Yes, Mom saw
yes, I did.
And you didn't mistake it like I did. I didn't understand.
Lynn thought it was a carving.
Oh no, I don't know what I thought, because Susan just showed it to me, and I said yes. I had an owl that I was a friend with slightly when I was a child, and I remember his sitting on the branch and looking at me. And
You're kidding.
Yeah, I wasn't a friend with him, but I mean, he was sitting on
I was
the
the one that had an owl that was my friend.
Yes.
Well, I was the one who never had an owl
and I've never seen one before since in person like that.
It's rare to see them. But so you never told me that you had an owl.
I think I was in grade school. I was walking to school and back.
Well, and that's how it happens. If it's a young, I think particularly male, a young adolescent male, they're very friendly, and they will allow they talk a lot. They're practicing their mating. They aren't quite sure who's to mate with, and I think that's how I befriended my owl. He was somewhere in my yard, and I could hear him hoot all the time, so I started hooting back, and then eventually he let me see him, and then we just struck up a grand friendship, and it lasted for a year, and then at the next year he was old enough to actually mate, and he found an appropriate mate, and after that he lived in my yard, but he never spoke to me again.
Who needed you anymore? He'd found his woman.
Girl. Yeah.
So, Mom,
he was a grand friend.
Mom.
Yes. Yes.
I want to ask you, because you're older.
Then what?
Old as dirt. Okay, wait. Mom, and you've lived through a lot of historic moments, right? You lived through the Great Depression. You lived through World War II. You lived through whatever. I mean, and now we, can just do the whole list. 9/11, whatever.
Well, and she lived through, transportation totally changing the world, going from a huge place to a little place.
I lived through did you say the Depression?
I did. I did.
Yeah.
But so, Mom, of all those catastrophes, does this one seem?
It's totally different. I've never lived through anything like this.
Right.
Never.
And
this terrible isolation, it's where people are afraid to go near each other. No, I've never lived through anything like this.
Well, see, think of that and all those other catastrophes. At least we could hug each other. We could hold each other.
Right. You could interact with people. You wouldn't be alone like these old people are dying alone.
Isn't that something?
And they have no loved one near them.
They aren't allowed to be near them because
they aren't allowed. It is simply terrible.
And here's the other thing. I don't know. This is these are these terrible pieces of information that come my way. If you do go to the hospital, folks, leave your jewelry at home. If you don't, it will be taken from you and you won't get it back because of the biohazard. So please leave your wedding rings and the things that are precious to you at home.
Oh, God.
I don't know why.
I haven't had jewelry on, anyway. But really, when I heard that,
jewelry.
I thought people should know that because if someone took, for example, my wedding rings off my hands and I were deathly ill, and then my family never got them back, that if I weren't already dead, that would kill me.
Well, that's really. There's so many unimaginable, dreadful things about this self-isolation we're all in.
Well, and you are, Mom, a very social person.
Social. I don't know.
You're totally social.
I was thinking this morning that for me, I'm just, I just confess, I am not discomforted by this staying away from people stuff whatsoever. I'm vaguely enjoying this. I have to be not the part where people are dying and sick, but the part where I'm doing my duty by lolling around. It could be worse. And I'm lolling around in comfort with everything I need about me, and I'm not in fear. So. So
it's not so bad.
Reach out and touch each other. So
this is not so bad for people who
I'm actually
are
counting my blessings.
Yes, we're just living a normal life here together.
If ever there were a time for affirmations, this is it. And the only thing I'm vaguely worried about is that I think I am by nature agoraphobic. And the things that I have always been unreasonably frightened of seem to sort of all happened, like planes. I was always afraid of airplanes flying right above me because I thought they could fall and land on my head, and of course we know that's not an irrational fear. And things.
Wait a minute. Did you just say that's not a rational fear?
An irrational. It's not irrational.
It is too. That an airplane's going to fall on your head?
Fully into buildings and falling out of the sky.
Well, Susan, it is an irrational fear that an airplane can fall on your head. What are the odds? What are the odds? I can't believe you said that's a rational fear.
Well, I feel like 9/11 made it feel rational.
Well, I think it is possible that we'll all become more agoraphobic, after this. I was trying to read an email from Ellen because of the owl talk. She said, based on a tip from a neighbor, my husband and I took a short walk last week to a small wooded area not far from our house. The aim was to see the nest of a great horned owl.
That's what you were looking at in that picture.
Oh, my God. We managed to find it. And with our binoculars, saw the mom and the older baby who had fledged and was on a branch above the nest. There was another baby we couldn't see that was still in the nest. It was the highlight of my week. I bet. Wow.
Yeah, that's something. I don't know what it is about catching just seeing an owl or having, a thing with an owl. It's just something you never forget. They're magical. They're special.
They're big. They're big and, yes, magical. So Jeff writes, speaking of imbeciles who aren't getting it, when people in hospitals are gasping for their next breath and fighting for their lives, during his daily campaign press rally yesterday, our clown president is so concerned about his hair getting messed up in the wind. Do not listen or watch those. He even stopped giving out his vital information to comment on his hair. And, of course, how about him bragging about his television rating? Yeah, these daily news conferences are getting better ratings than the Bachelor finale. Mom, can you imagine? You live in the United States of America, and during this huge national catastrophe, that is what the president says. My ratings are better than the Bachelor finale.
No. He's getting. I've been very upset about how many television appearances he's getting.
They should stop it.
I mean, it's really scary to me because I know.
I am reassured by the number of ads
they transfer into votes for him, and Biden isn't getting any.
No. One of the things I was sent today from a friend is that the Los Angeles Times called up Joanne Rogers, to ask the question, what would Mr. Rogers tell us right now? And, Mom, Joanne's younger than you, but she's 92, and she is alone in her apartment. But she has so many friends that they're all, they're dropping things off, they're calling, whatever. But Joanne said something interesting because she and Fred were always very careful not to in any way show their political bent.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. And I'm looking for this. She talks about, first of all, how he hated news. She said, here's a quote, he would never sit down and tune in the news. He hated the sensationalized 24-hour churn. And even when 9/11 happened, they were at their home in Nantucket, and she said Fred would not watch the television. He told her, I'm going for a walk on the beach. Mm-hmm. And she said he always needed total quiet to try to think things through. And she said that she does listen to the news a bit, and she listens to Rachel Maddow. She says she has been addicted to television news. She's not quite sure she really trusts anybody, though she likes Rachel Maddow. And she said, when I hear her deliver the news, she's kind of like a minister delivering a good sermon. But then she said this, which shocked me. Sometimes, she says, while watching President Trump's news conferences, she gets so frustrated that she starts yelling at her television. She notices the aides standing behind him and shouts, and here's what, this sounds like pure Joanne, because it's so actually mild. She's shouting at the people around Trump, if you just take him on right now, you'd make him get so mad and carry on, and he'd talk himself into a fit. Oh, God.
So,
God.
here's what I like about all of that. Because because the best thing the LA Times can do is to call up the wife of someone because they can no longer interview the someone. So she's not herself. She's just supposed to speak for the dead person. As a widow, let me tell you, I find that very irritating. But second of all, what I really love about Joanne is she just spoke for herself.
Yeah,
and
that's what she does.
And gave them the answer they deserved, which is, he's gone, but here's what I say.
Yeah. She's not, she doesn't know anymore.
There's a reason that Fred married her, because he liked to hear what she had to say.
Well, she ended up, they kept asking. And she says Fred always dealt with tragedy in a different way. Here's her quote, he digested it in a different way than I do. It wasn't something he liked to talk about, and I knew that. And then the reporter says, was she implying that Fred might have been as lost as the rest of us now? And here she says, oh, no, I think he would have had good ideas. And as soon as he got them figured out, he would have shared them. But he wasn't going to spurt out the first thing that came into his mind. He didn't talk just to make noise in the world. So
that's what he did. He brought calm and quiet.
That's right. And she said, I don't know. He would have walked and thought and come up with something, she was sure. But he wouldn't be spouting something off the top of his head. So, oh, God, I did a virtual, Zoom happy hour with my friend Kit and Sally Wiggin last night that turned into the most raucous. We were laughing so hard after initially sharing, all these, regular stuff. But we ended up laughing so hard that it was simply wonderful. So I do, that is a way to still be with people, reach out and,
well, I actually said to Mother yesterday, this is getting exhausting. I'm like a sitting duck. I am hearing from people.
Yeah, right.
That I haven't heard from.
Yeah.
In years. Like the wife of the head of the ex-head, the ex-chair of the theater department at Washington University called me yesterday for a chat.
Well, you do. Yeah. I found myself thinking of people that I would normally not call and just wanting to check in with them. By the way, we have another email. This is from Laura in Ann Arbor. And Mom, I should tell you that Laura is your son's secretary among a lot of other law professors, right?
Right.
And she says this, so glad you're still podcasting. It is hard being home all day alone when not used to it. I think Laura is a recent widow herself. Yeah. Good to hear your mom and Susan. I was trying to cheer your brother up yesterday. Yesterday, by the way, was my brother's birthday, and
which is always a depressing day for him.
Yeah, so he's old, and Laura said I was trying to cheer him up. As you know, he is feeling so old. I think he's feeling a bit better about his new milestone after helping him to realize that next year he'll be halfway to 150.
Good for you, Laura.
Mom, Isn't that amazing that you've got a son who's halfway on the way to being 150?
I know it seems so strange that he feels so old.
Well, especially when his mommy is talking to us on the telephone.
Right.
Yeah. So I want to go on with Laura, and then I think we have a caller. More depressing information from Susan on jewelry. It is such a sad situation. Put the damn jewelry in a baggie and give it back for sanitizing. How ridiculous we have become in so many ways. I know this doesn't make a lot of sense to more than me, but I have enjoyed the callers to the show since being at home and hope they continue to contribute. Yes, 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 Laura. I am not much of a contributor, but here is my animal contribution. I have 2 groundhogs living under my barn in the backyard. I have named them Francine and Earl. Those are great names. It is the highlight of my day to see them eating my backyard. Last year, they had 2 babies. I am waiting to see if there are babies again this year. Even my daughter and grandson check with me on the comings and goings of Francine and Earl. Talk about an exciting life. Francine and Earl and work from home. Take care and stay safe. Laura, that is such a wonderful email and contribution to the show. I thank you.
You should get hazard pay for working for you-know-who, but anyway.
Well, she's working from home now. So I think we have a caller. Hello, caller. Go ahead, please.
Hello, ladies.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Lynn. You're talking about the economy. You know, the economy's so bad that women are tanning now using the sun.
What did you say? Women are
the economy is so bad that women are tanning now using the sun.
Ha! You're the guy with all the jokes.
Yeah, I'm a dumb joke guy. Hey, but
what?
The reason I called is, you got a pen and paper there with you?
Sure.
I want you to write this down. It's a cleaning product I saw online.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, I heard it on KFI LA. Anyway, it's called monofoilusa.com.
Mm-hmm.
And this stuff was invented by a serviceman, because when he was out in, the Middle East, they always got real grungy and all. So anyway, he came up with this product that they were saying, like, when you use Lysol or, regular cleaning products, it only lasts for like 3 minutes. And as soon as someone else touches it, then it's infected again. But this stuff lasts for like 6 months. Constantly.
You're kidding.
Constantly. No, look up this, look them up, monofoilusa.com. It was pretty amazing.
Okay, spell it. Spell it. MONO?
Right.
OIL?
Like aluminum foil.
Yeah. Oh, monofoil?
Right. USA.
FOIL, right. .com.
USA.com. Okay.
Right. So
you could be promoting snake oil here. We don't know.
Well, I don't know. You look at their ad, like this. One was some gymnasium, some college gymnasium. They kept coming up with staph infections and all this. So they came in and wiped down the whole gym or the weight room. And once they did that, they never got another staph infection. There's other examples too.
Okay.
It's worth taking a look at. And something else to write down. I think you'll enjoy this. Bob E. Kelly. It's a stay-at-home song.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that, Susan?
Is that the guy? Is that the guy that looks like Burl Ives?
Yeah, a bald Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
F word a lot.
Huh?
Stay the F at home.
Exactly. Is that hysterical or what?
It's very good. It's very good.
Stay the F at home.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, do you have another joke, or did you lead with your joke today?
No, I gotta say this monofoil thing looks sort of interesting. Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'll leave you with this. Little girl says to her dad, "Daddy, do all fairy tales begin with once upon a time?" He said, "No, honey, there's another one. When I'm elected, I promise." Goodbye, girls.
Goodbye. Hey, people are saying they miss hearing from Clarence in Canonsburg, and so do I. And Susan, I thought when I was walking yesterday I would ask you, because you pay attention to his Facebook page. Is Clarence around?
I haven't noticed a lack of his presence on Facebook.
Okay.
I think he's okay. I hope so.
Clarence, if you're out there, we need to hear from you. Okay? The Wall Street Journal reported yesterday that there is now, never mind the toilet paper shortage, there's a jigsaw shortage. Jigsaw puzzle shortage. And I'm hoarding about 500 of them myself. I'd love to share them. I can stick them outside if you need them, because I find them, really.
Your son was doing one.
Yeah, he's got some of my old ones. I gave them to them, and I think they're, okay, I'm sorry, someone's telling me. Also, news stuff, I just want to quickly do a little newsy stuff here. I think it's fantastic that you're seeing workers' strikes, essentially. The people this gig economy, people who work for Instacart, who delivered food to me, or delivering from or even Whole Foods workers. People who are out there keeping things open for the rest of us are feeling extremely vulnerable, to say the least. And they're starting to, I think there was wasn't Whole Foods, no, Instacart was their employees were going to strike, I believe, today.
Yeah, have they?
And I think Whole Foods is potentially, their workers are going to walk out because and I don't blame them. I'll tell you folks on the front lines that if you ever had leverage, you do now. And you have every right to demand that you are paid well, perhaps more than you used to be paid.
No, you should also have the right to opt not to show up for work and be allowed to get your job back when this is over. You signed up to be a grocery store clerk. You did not sign, which was at the time was not a life-risking job. You should have the option of whether you want to perform that job. There are people that will do it, but you shouldn't have to do it or lose your job. I don't think that's right. I think this
of course not, but this is America where, workers be damned. I want to read you something that the New York Times put out. They talked to people who work in the travel industry, work in hotels or work whatever as tour guides. Obviously, they're all in big trouble. And I'm just going to read, think about these people. Here's a woman, Vivian Roberts. She's 60 years old. She has worked as on the housekeeping staff at the Hilton Hotel in Hartford, Connecticut for 22 years. She's been cleaning up people's rooms for 22 years. And most of the other housekeepers have lost their jobs. But the hotel is hanging on to her and a few others because I guess every once in a while somebody comes. And imagine how dangerous that job is. She says, I spray down the door handle before I walk in. I spray disinfectant when I go in. And I spray everything down before I touch anything. I wear gloves. I never take them off. When I clean the bathroom, I change the gloves and put on 2 pairs. And when I'm done, I'll remove the gloves and use hand sanitizer. Before I go into the next room, I'll wash my hands and then use my hand sanitizer again and replace my gloves. And I do that between each room. She says, of course I'm worried about getting sick, and I'm putting my own health at risk for this. I need the money. And I even if my employer, I can take precautions to protect myself, even if my employer won't. So I will continue to work until I feel that I can no longer protect myself. And then you hear from these other people. My God, a guy who does tours in Puerto Rico. He says, I have 2 boys, 2 and 4, and one is diabetic, and I have to be sure there's money for insulin. And I learned with Hurricane Maria, if you have to have a plan B, and it has to be something completely opposite. So after her hurricane, I got certified as an electrician. I'm worried right now, but down the line, I have some doors open. But, people a guy who drives a limo in New York, he says, I usually make about $1,500 a week. Now I'm making $600. My main concern is now that I'm working less than 32 hours, I'm going to lose my health insurance. My 19-year-old daughter has had open heart surgery. My wife just had a bout with cancer, and they had to remove a kidney. I know everyone who gets into my car is potentially a carrier, but what am I to do? If I don't work, we don't eat. I don't qualify for food stamps or for most of the programs because they look at your income from the previous year. When you stop and think of what people are going through, it is mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Gigi just looked up monofoil and found some EPA information for it. It is registered as a pesticide and contains ammonium chloride. I don't know if that's a good thing. And probably not. And yes, you're right. Whole Foods workers are intending to strike today. And she says Clarence has been active on Facebook lately. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, I just checked.
Okay. Oh, boy. So there's that. Did you see Donald Trump's tweet this morning?
Oh, no. What did Don say?
Well, Nancy Pelosi showed up on Morning Joe, and here's what President said. I watched a portion of the very low-rated Morning Psycho Joe. Do you believe this?
No.
This is the president. In order to see what Nancy Pelosi had to say and what moves she was planning to further hurt our country.
Yeah. I can't say what I'm thinking. The Secret Service will come in and arrest me.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And there are still all these articles about how Democrats are worried because, as you said, Susan, earlier, no one's seeing Biden, but we're sure, and Sanders won't drop out.
No, Sanders won't drop out, but at least we're seeing some good commercials, some good ads.
Great commercials that are coming out. Yeah.
And I every time I see one, I am calmed.
Yeah.
Just because I'm seeing truth.
Yeah. Hey, I do want a few things. Your former state, Missouri, Rachel, tweeted this out yesterday. Even in the face of pleas from the doctors and nurses in his state, and the fact that Missouri saw a 600% increase in coronavirus cases last week, Governor Parson has no plans for a statewide stay-at-home order.
No. Why?
No. What is what they're going to kill? These Republican governors and president are killing people.
Yeah, they are. As they're doing in Wisconsin. We now have the front page of the Green Bay Press Gazette this morning was city clerks demanding that they close polls for the April election.
Now, who's making that decision? Because you have a Democratic governor.
It's got to be the House, the state, their
Republican legislature.
Yeah, the Republican legislature that's doing it.
Okay, so Wisconsin's primary is a week from today. And every other state with a primary like now has canceled because it would put, obviously, poll workers in danger. It would certainly put voters in danger, and it would be telling people to come out of their homes. And, I mean, it is the high. So this is, again, Republicans killing people. They also want to do it because Republicans win elections when people don't or can't vote. And this is a big election because it's going to have a big effect on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Right. And that's why they are pushing this to continue despite the risk to people's health, because they think they can lock down the Wisconsin Supreme Court for the next 30 years.
And what we need, and there is a really good woman running who has spent her career as a prosecutor and a trial judge, and she's simply not beholden to the corporate interests that the guy that they're trying to get out is. And I mean, he's just, sitting up there doling out flavor.
How can, the governor can't declare.
Should not be elected.
Wait, can the governor I can't believe the governor can't declare a state of emergency, as has been declared.
I can't either. But I mean, I don't know.
Well, he better. People got to start writing the governor and say, stop this.
Don't you remember when Evers was first elected that the Republicans responded by taking away all of his gubernatorial powers?
I do.
Well, maybe he doesn't have that power.
See, the Wisconsin finally got a Democratic governor, but they still have that Republican legislature. The minute the Democrat was elected, the legislature got busy and literally stripped the governorship of unbelievable amounts of power. I so hate Republicans. I am sorry. I'm not even going to varnish it.
Well, I think that anyone that still calls themselves a Republican and defends in any way the way this current group of Republicans has been behaving, at this point shows shares a lack of character. And it's very informative about who that person is. And I have never felt that way about if someone called themselves a Republican or a Democrat. In fact, I always assumed that we probably believed many of the same things. We were just raised to vote differently. I no longer feel that way. I think the people that still call themselves Republicans are just absolutely walking around and saying, I am a greedy person. I worship at the altar of lies and profit. I don't care if people die. I don't care for my fellow man. I don't care what happens to anybody. It's all about me. I am a Republican. That's what I think that means.
Unbelievable. I guess I fear those people more than I do Trump, because they're the ones who gave us him, and they're the ones who refuse to accept reality. Look at what Falwell keeping Liberty University open, telling students to come back to Liberty University.
They're going to notice that they're all getting sick and dropping.
And now he's going to kill the students. What is with these people? Unbelievable.
They actually arrested in Tampa one of
the minister.
Guys.
Yeah, the minister turned himself in, $500 bail. He's out, and he's blaming media. Oh boy! I just saw a quote from Calvin Coolidge. This is when Republicans, I guess, were stupid but not evil. He said this: "It is a great advantage to a president and a major source of safety to the country for him to know he is not a great man." Well, unfortunately, we have a president who knows without a doubt he is a great man.
Well, he tells himself every morning first thing.
And so that means, Coolidge would agree, that makes us unsafe as a country. Absolutely. And before we go, Lucy says, watch the Eagle Cam. The Hayes Eagle Cam is still up, and there are, I think, 2 or 3 little fledglings in there. And that can give you some delight in nature. Although when you see an eagle, carry, a cat into the nest, that's not so cool. But I never saw that. Anyway, I think we're done.
We're 2 minutes overdone.
Oh, we're overdone. Mom, are you still there?
Yeah, I am. I am. I'm
falling asleep.
There.
Okay.
No, I enjoyed listening.
Well, we enjoyed having you, so thank you very much. And
I like the picture that was put up with Lynn Cullen Live today.
Well, I think we've been putting that up. Is that you and me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cute picture. All right.
I bought those glasses. I want them back. Okay. Bye.
Okay.
Susan gave me your yesterday's program to listen to on my.
Well, yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah,
okay,
I know.
We're done.
Okay, hey,
we're
Mom.
Done, girls.
Love you. Thank you.
Love you too, honey. Love you
okay.
too. Oh, and listen, Sam called us yesterday.
Yeah, today he called, I think. Isn't that nice? Yeah, isn't that nice?
Yes, I just loved it.
I'm glad. Okay, I'll see ya. You should call me.
Okay. You feel all right. You just feel better.
I will. I feel fine, Mom. Don't worry about me. You take care of yourself. Okay.
Okay.
Bye. And bye, you guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay. Bye.
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 Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.